Please read the description for some more tech specs.
What's going on, guys? Alex here, and we have the Miata today in video. Finally, it's been a while. So the Miata has not been autocrossed for the last few events because of an issue with the crank pulley down here. I noticed that it started to kind of wobble a little bit when the vehicle's on. For these vehicles, I've read that it's a common issue. Usually, it could just be something as simple as a worn harmonic balancer. Worst case, the cars are known to have keyways that get basically marred up and kind of get worn down. I have the parts to replace both. I have a new harmonic balancer and I have what's called the crank saver, which essentially is like a spacer and a longer keyway to strengthen that area. That's probably something I'm going to start to tackle tomorrow. But today, I figured before I start pulling stuff off the crank, I'm just going to do a quick compression test on the car. And I figured I'll just contribute to the YouTube inventory of compression testing a NA Mazda Miata. So again, this is a 96 with the 1.8 non-VVT. And I'll just show you guys a quick step-by-step on how to do it. Tools needed, it's really not that much. Obviously you need something to be able to remove your spark plugs, and you'll also need a compression tester. You can either rent one, buy one. I personally own a cheap Harbor Freight one. Are they most accurate? Not really, but it gives you a good idea at least on the engine's health. So what I'll be doing today is I'll do a cold test. So this car has not been run in a while. I'll do a cold test, write those numbers down, and then I'll also do a hot test, which is, getting the engine up to temperature, and then, wait for it to cool down a little bit, obviously, and then do the test again. So anyway, let's go ahead and I will walk you guys through what needs to be done to get to that point. Okay, first things first, you're going to remove all 4 of your spark plug wires. And if you're good like me, you'll just go ahead and do a little trick and already have them out of the car. So you do that. Then you're gonna come over here to your little fuse panel and you're gonna remove this relay and this fuse right here. I can't remember which one is which, but I believe fuel pump relay, and this is the injector fuse. So that will just make sure that you don't have any fuel going into the engine when you're bumping it over. Okay, so with the fuses and relays removed, spark plugs are removed, we are pretty much ready to begin the test. So here's my compression test kit. Depending on which one you get, you'll get your actual tester, different various size adapters. What you're gonna do is just match up the threaded portion to the spark plug, looking for thread pitch and the width, and that's the one you're gonna use. And all you're gonna do is just thread it in by hand. You don't need to, go crazy torque on these. It just needs to be able to create a seal. There's a little like O-ring at the bottom of it. So you got a nicely seated there. And this Harbor Freight compression tester at least is a quick disconnect style. So we're just gonna go ahead and hook it up there. And it's hooked up, and you're just gonna do this with one hand, is a little tricky. Aha, okay. And then we're just gonna lay it off over here on the side, and gonna open the garage up. And what you do is you go inside and turn the car over. So give me 1 second, let me get myself ready. Okay, so we're inside the car now. So obviously you're gonna put your key in the ignition, if you can find it. Put all the way down the clutch, and you're gonna want to put the throttle all the way down. That's gonna open your throttle plate and essentially put the car in flood mode. So basically all the air is gonna be rushing into the engine. This will ensure that there is no possibility of it actually starting on you with all these components taken off. So you're gonna go ahead and, you can check. I didn't hear the fuel pump turn on, so you know that the relay is not connected. And I usually like to do about, 10, 15 bumps just to make sure I get a good reading on this Harbor Freight tester at least. So let's go ahead and bump it up. All right. So that's that. Just for safety, I just pull the key out every time. And you're gonna crawl out of your car. Walk over to your tester and let's see what we got. All right, cool. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna write that down for cylinder 1 and do that for the remaining 3 cylinders. Keep in mind this is a cold test, so the engine's not warmed up. And once we're done here, put everything back together, let the car run, and we'll do it again hot. So give me a second while I finish off the cold test. Okay, so car's put back together again. We're letting it warm up. Let's go over the cold results real quick. So here's what we have. Obviously, this is in PSI. Cylinder 1 was at 135, 2 and 3 were at 130, 4 was at 135. So for numbers wise, that's actually okay. When you do compression tests, there's two data points you're looking for. Obviously, you want the compression to be within manufacturer spec. We're gonna find that out once the engine's warmed up and doing the test again. With this cold test, what we can actually kind of at least start off with is see the variation between the cylinders. Normally, if I'm not mistaken, usually you want the compression numbers to be within like 10 to 20% of each other. Those ones are all pretty much spot on with each other. So at least for right now, we can assume that every single cylinder is the same when it comes to their compression health-wise. So that's a good start, and it's also a very awesome thing to know that this 269,000 mile motor has basically equal compression on every single cylinder. So anyways, I'm gonna put the phone down. I'm gonna wait a couple minutes, let the car get up to temperature, and then obviously I'm gonna let it cool down a little bit just so it's safe to work on it again. And basically what you're doing while you're doing a hot test is letting the engine get the temperature. That's gonna allow the pistons and everything to expand within. In theory, that should also increase your compression numbers, and that's what we're gonna be looking at. For Mazdas, and I believe most naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engines, with this compression ratio, I think what you want is somewhere within like 180, 190 PSI for a healthy motor. So to be honest with you, with the tired motor, I would probably assume this thing to maybe go up to about like a 160, 170. If we get a 180 out of this thing, I'm gonna be pretty surprised. But again, we'll just wait it out real quick, and I'll come see you guys once I finish that compression test. All right, car's warmed up. Compression tester is hooked up. Go ahead and bump it until the needle stops moving, and we'll see how things are looking. Let's see what we got. Really not that much from cold. So yeah, like I said, the engine's tired, and that's really what you can expect from it. Maybe I can run a little bit hotter to see what happens, but the coolant temperature gauge is already at the middle. I mean, the fan, I could have maybe waited for the fans to get on and open the thermostat, but I don't think we're getting anything better out of this engine. That's what we're looking at. I'm gonna do the other 3, see how those ones are looking, and check in with you guys here in a minute. All right, and the final results. This car is stupid consistent. I don't know, maybe if I let it run a little bit longer and tested it again, I might get a little bit higher on the hots. But for the most part, again, let's go back. We're looking for consistency and the variance as well too. So we're literally 5 PSI up every single cylinder once the engine was ran for a few minutes. So that's good to know. I do not know I guess what they call like the error rate or the calibration of the Harbor Freight compression testers. I do not know if they read lower compared to say a Snap-on or like a better quality name brand tester. So that could also play a factor in your results. But at least the good thing to know is that we have compression. That's one thing. It's over 100 PSI, which is another good thing. And all cylinders are within their variants here. So again, that's how you do a compression test on a Mazda Miata. Hopefully this video helps you guys out. And again, these types of tests, they tell you a lot. They can ruin your day. They can make your day great. But it's definitely a good skill to know, especially if you're someone that works on their own cars and keeps their cars for a long time. Stuff like this can help you diagnose things like a misfire, any type of drivability issues, lack of power. Obviously, more than likely, this car probably needs a freshen up down at the bottom end with the pistons and rods, definitely the rings and whatnot. Head might need a little bit of work as well too, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Engine still runs just fine, and I'm gonna run her until something happens, and then we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But anyways, that's how you do compression test on the Mazda Miata. Thanks for watching.